We are back, and I'm giving out one bet for every single fight this weekend at UFC Perth. Boys, after this Saturday, my schedule finally opens up, and I get to do this, normal hours, not until 3, 4, 5 a.m. I've been grinding my ass off just to get these videos out because I've been so busy. My kids are super busy. I'll do a full recap of the last month, the last 4 cards on next week's cards. Like I said, this weekend I'll have tons of time to go through and get all the content done. Last week, not my best week once again. That's now 2 weeks in a row. So this week, I'm just going to give away 100 to one person that comments anything on this video. It can be love. It can be hate. It can be your favorite play for this card. Just drop a comment, drop a like, and I'll pick one person to send Venmo, Cash App, whatever, 100 to on next week's show. Let's not waste any time, though, because I actually like this card a lot. And there's some good spots. There's a lot of closely lined fights on this one and some good props too. So let's kick it right away. It's hard to figure out what the bout order is on the prelims because the books have something different. The UFC stats website has something different than the graphic they put out. So I'm going to go like this. We're going to start it off with Brando Parishik taking on Elijah Ellison. Look, 2 guys who are supposed to fight on the Contender Series. No idea really what is going to happen on this one. Let me get the graphic up real quick. This is a hard fight to predict just because, like I said, both these guys' opponents have been, relatively under par. Both these guys do crack for sure. Maybe you say Ellison has an advantage on the ground with the jiu-jitsu. If you look on his IG, he's been training with guys like Chase Hooper. Maybe his jiu-jitsu's better. But on the other side, Brando Parishik, this guy's massive. He's a big heavyweight. He moves pretty well too, especially in the early going. He's got big power in the hands. I think he's more of an aggressive striker, too. If you watch him on tape, sometimes he comes out guns blazing and pushes a super, super fast pace for heavyweight. And sometimes that pays off and he gets the knockout. Other times it comes back and it bites him right in the ass. No idea what's going to happen here. All I know is Brando Parishik is the hometown favorite, city kickboxing guy. He's going to have that crowd on his side pumping him up. Maybe he comes out here, goes guns blazing once again, and gets that finish. You guys know the drill, though. First fight that I break down, I have to give out plus money. I'm going Brando Parishik, KO round 1 at plus 140. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of round 2 just because it's plus 500. You're getting 5-1 on a round 2 KO prop on a fight that's probably going to end by KO. If Ellison wins, maybe sub. I don't really see it happening in this spot. So that's what it's going to be. First fight on the card, we're taking Brando, KO1 plus 140 for the official. We're going to sprinkle that round 2 at plus 500 as well, just because I like it a lot. All right, women's MMA. Loma Lookboonmee taking on Alexia Tinara. And right away, my first initial thought is that, man, Loma has so much UFC experience compared to Tinara. Loma, let's see what she's on a 3-fight win streak? 4-fight win streak, beating girls like Denise Gomes, Elise Reed, Bruno Brazil, and Estela Nunez. The one thing that none of those girls have, though, is the good grappling, is the wrestling and jiu-jitsu game. Denise Gomes wants to stand and bang. That's a perfect matchup for Lookboonmee because she's so crafty with her footwork and her Muay Thai is super good. Her win against Elise Reed. If you're not beating Elise Reed right now, you probably aren't, top 15, top 20 material. And, beating Bruno Brazil, she beat her very, very handily. Even got a takedown in that fight, showed that she can wrestle a little bit offensively against girls who, aren't great wrestlers. And then she beats Estela Nunez, which was a lot closer of a fight. And actually, Loma Lookboonmee in that fight had to rely on her wrestling to win that. I don't think she's going to have that option here. But I think if this stays at space, she's going to be the shorter girl. Loma is 5'0", could fight at 105 pounds if they had that weight class. And, if she stays from the outside, she's going to have to rely on her combinations, blitzing in, landing her kicks. I think she can do that just fine. It's just she doesn't have a ton of pop on her shots. She's not a super powerful girl, whereas Alexia Tinara can eat a shot, and she marches forward, will eat your shots just to get in the clinch, get in a position where she can find takedowns. And, dude, she's very, very physical, very strong. She's going to be a lot bigger here, too. That's what scares me. And, she came in against Molly McCann on a live card in London on a main card and mopped the floor with Molly McCann. Got that one takedown, shortly after submitted her. That was impressive to see. I liked it a lot. I wanted to get on Loma here really bad on the money line, but, truthfully, I think this is going to be somewhat of a close fight, and I do think Loma can use that footwork and striking, whether it's early in the fight or late in the fight, to squeak out a round here. Do I think she wins? I think she has a chance. I'm not really banking on it, but I'm going to take Loma Lookboonmee plus 3.5 spread, where she just got to win one round on the judges' scorecards. I really think she can do it, if I'm being honest. I think the footwork will be key. Can't get taken down. If she does get taken down early, I think Loma's the girl that could come on late here, steal a round somewhere in the middle to the end. So that's what we're going with, Loma plus 3.5 spread. All right, more women's MMA with Luana Karolina and Michelle Montgoy. Let me look how to say this again. Montgoy. We're going to go with Montgoy. And, the first thing I want to note here, and I've heard some people talking about it, not everybody, Luana Karolina is a 115er who fought up at 125 in her last fight, and you're getting Michelle Montgoy, who is a featherweight in PFL, I believe, 145 pounds, dropping down here another weight class. So, this is going to be a girl moving up versus a girl moving down, and I think there's going to be a big size discrepancy in this spot. I mean, Michelle, and using that size too, if this was a striking bout and Michelle wasn't, making her debut and she has to rely on her striking, I'd give Luana more of a chance here, and I'd be looking at that plus 200. But, honestly, I think Luana is going to have to try to stuff takedowns for a full 15 minutes. She might be able to stuff a couple, but I think Michelle is going to chain together those takedown attempts, get her wrestling going, especially against the cage, whereas Michelle is jacked. She's super physical, super strong. I think that's going to be a problem here. Does she sub Luana Karolina? Not really banking on it or, have a strong opinion on that just because this is the UFC now. It's a higher level up, but I do think, her wrestling could be pretty effective in this spot. We've seen Luana taken down before. And I've heard the argument that Luana just beat, what's her name? Yulia Stoliarenko, who's a grappler, but Yulia has terrible wrestling, okay? Ivana Petrovic got a couple of takedowns on Luana. Luana was still able to use her striking while I was on the feet to win that fight. Ivana Petrovic isn't on the level of Michelle Montgoy. So, same thing with Lucy Pudilova. Lucy Pudilova landed 2 takedowns on Luana Karolina. Not on the level of Michelle Montgoy, not near as physical or strong. So all that's leaving me to take Michelle here. I think she does win the fight. I'm going to take her by sub or decision because, I'm not completely sold that she goes out there and subs Luana. Like I said, there are levels to this at the end of the day, but I do think the physicality is going to be enough to get the fight to the mat. Either get control time, look for the sub. I don't think she's finding the knockout, so sub decision. I think that's a pretty safe play if you agree with me and you're on the side of Michelle Montgoy here. All right, Colby Thickness versus Josias Mousas. Look, I love Colby Thickness, and training with Alexander Volkanovski, getting some good rounds in. The guy's definitely, super tough. He seems very durable, even though we've seen him hurt on the regional scene, especially early on in the fight when his opponents are fresh. I think that could very well happen here with Josias Mousas because throw out Mousas' last loss to Vera. I mean, this guy cracks for sure. I don't think he's going to be super easy to take down or anything. It's not like he got taken down and submitted in his last fight. He kind of ate that head kick, got dropped, and got put out right away by that sub by Carlos Vera. Vera did a good job at jumping on the back, but Carlos Vera is also a very, very slick jiu-jitsu player on the mat. High-level black belt, which I don't really know if Colby Thickness is. Maybe he is. Hasn't really shown it to me, especially in past fights. The thing that I worry about with Colby is really his volume. When he is throwing, he's not really putting a lot of pop on his shots, and I think you're going to have to do that to get the respect of Josias Mousas here, and I don't really know if he does that. I mean, I think Colby Thickness's path to victory is definitely being durable, using his durability to get to that second and third round and implementing some cage pushing, some grappling. You're probably not going to get your first couple of takedowns, but if he stays with it and can just wear down Mousas, I think he does have a chance to kind of try to pour it on and get some kind of attritional finish with the TKO, or even if he does get the fight to the mat, look for a submission, a take advantage of every opportunity you get to jump on his neck or look for those sub attempts, because that's just going to drain Josias Mousas even more. On the flip side, like I said, we've seen thickness hurt early in fights before by guys that probably don't crack like Josias Mousas. And I think Josias, too, coming off that loss, has probably learned a lot. It looked like he's training with Atiba Gatier. So, his striking is going to be good, probably going to be better and faster. Honestly, I'm not going to be shocked if Josias lands that knockout early, and I'm not going to be surprised if thickness pulls off a sub or a TKO late. So I'm taking this fight to end by finish, -150. You cover both sides. This is kind of a volatile fight in my opinion, but if you can cover that finish on either side and you get it under -170-ish, I think you're doing pretty good there. So that's going to be the play. Fight ends by finish at -150. All right. The glass chin versus Rolando Bedoya. I mean, that's the story with Jamie Malarkey. The guy has just, it's not that, yes, he's got a bad chin, in my opinion, but he's also fighting killers in there when he's getting knocked out. Besides, what's his name? The old, let's see, Muhammad Naimov. Naimov, not the biggest power puncher, holds some decent striking, but you look at his other ones, Jalen Turner hits hard and was very lengthy and long for the division. Nasrat Hakparas has super sharp boxing, and actually, he does some damage in fights. Look at this fight against Esteban Hibovic. He busted him up badly. Nasrat's so accurate. It's not surprising he cracked the chin. And then Mauricio Hufi, call him a fraud, call him what you want for his loss to BSD. When the fights are standing, the dude absolutely cracks. Ask Bobby Green. So, those are, yes, concerning knockout losses because of how bad they were and how easy it was for them to touch his chin. 2 of those being in the first round and then Naimov getting him in the second. But, Bedoya, on the other hand, it's not like he was a big power puncher at 170 pounds. He's moving down to 155 here, so he might carry a little more power than some of these guys, being that he's a naturally bigger fighter for this weight class. And, skill for skill, I think Bedoya is a little bit outmatched. The one thing I love about Bedoya here, though, is that he throws so much volumes. He sets up his combinations with kicks, ends his combinations with kicks. He's always throwing something in your face. He seems to throw or at least attempt over a couple hundred significant strikes per fight. I think that's key here. If he does that enough, eventually you would think he could find the chin of Jamie Malarkey. And honestly, I think this is going to be a fight where Bedoya is just going to walk him down over and over. Yeah, he might have to eat a few shots, but Jamie's not exactly going out there and knocking out a ton of people either. He's got the KO win over Devontae Smith and Kama Worthy, but you look at when those happened, those are going on 4-5 years ago now. He hasn't won by knockout since then. He's gone to a lot of decisions, sometimes has to implement that wrestling. I think he's got to implement it here, honestly, because I think he's going to get overwhelmed to the point where he's going to start, maybe that's not the first punch, second, third punch, but eventually I think that damage starts to add up, and then he's going to be a little bit gun-shy, backing up, and Bedoya is going to get him again. So I know this is not a pretty pick whatsoever. This is a very, once again, volatile pick. I'm going to go Rolando Bedoya on the money line here, just for the simple fact that I think he's tougher, has a better chin, and is going to get his shots in, and we'll see if Jamie Malarkey can handle him. Maybe he can. People say Bedoya doesn't hit very hard, but, he's fighting guys at 170. Now he's going down to 155 against a guy who notoriously does not have a great chin. I'll take my chances with Bedoya here. It's not going to be a big play from me, but I do like this one for Bedoya here. I think the matchup, if you're looking at an even money fight, slight underdog odds, I think Bedoya is the side. All right. Andre Petroski versus Cam Rousen. And this is one that I have gone back and forth because, Andre is, if he goes out there with a good game plan, he beats guys, these longer, lengthier fighters. Look at Josh Fremd. He took him down and he held him down for 3 rounds. Pretty boring fight, but, Josh Fremd virtually had no chance in that fight. He had a puncher's chance. He couldn't defend the takedowns, couldn't get off of his back. Andre Petroski catches a lot of flack because, he knocked himself out, people say, against Jacob Malkoun. And yeah, that's a bad look and everything, but you look at the things that Andre Petroski does well, and it is a lot of the grappling. And it's not just the wrestling where he's a big physical guy, it's his control on the mat. This guy is very, very good with it. 3 rounds against Dylan Budka, went full 15 minutes. He had 1 takedown in each round. So, once he's getting guys down, they're not really getting up. It's the same thing with Josh Friend. 3 takedowns in that fight, full 15 minutes. They're not getting up. Took down Edmund Shabazian a couple of times. The only guy I believe he did not take down was Rodolfo Vieira, and that's because he found so much success on the feet that he kept it there, and he ended up winning that fight. Another guy he didn't take down was Michel Pereira because he got knocked out in the first round very quickly. But Michel has his faults, but he's dangerous early. So yeah, everybody else, Andre Petroski's pretty much taking down, and Cam Rousen has shown that he can get taken down. We saw Torres Finney do it 10 times on the Contender Series just last August, 1 year ago, 13 months ago. And, Cam Rousen had a great showing on the Contender Series in his last fight. Super happy he got that win. I picked him there as a slight dog. And, now off of that, he's a somewhat slight underdog. He's in his home country. He's going to have the crowd behind him. But I think Andre Petroski knows that, and he's going to just go to the wrestling. Like, there's no reason, and Petroski coming off of a loss, like, there is no reason he needs to go in there and try to have a striking battle with this kid who's very long, very athletic, and a guy who is susceptible to getting taken down. So I'm going to rely on Petroski to stick to his game plan and be smart here. Maybe that'll bite me in the ass, but I'll take Andre Petroski money line minus 175. I think he can do that. And again, Petroski just ate how many shots from Edmund Shabazian? 53 significant strikes from Edmund. I think Edmund's striking is a lot sharper than Cam Rousen at this point. So I do think Andre can compete and not get knocked out on the feet until he gets the takedowns. And once he does, I think he's going to rack up control time. If Rousen tries to get to his feet, maybe Petroski jumps on the neck. He's very good with the jiu-jitsu as well. So I'll take my chances on Petroski minus 175. All right. Navajo, Sterling, Rodolfo, Balato. This one is super, super interesting to me because, Balato, you go up against the guy in Sterling, and Sterling is yet to have that breakout performance in the UFC. I think people had higher hopes for him to be some big knockout artist, and I think he does hold a lot of power. But, Tuco Tokos hung in there tough, landed some takedowns on Sterling, but just got outstruck, doubled him up basically. Good showing for Sterling as far as showing that he can control it on the feet. Next fight, Ivan Urslon, that should have been a TKO round 3. If you go back and watch it, he had him dead to rights, outstruck him 110-36, even took down Ivan Urslon 3 times. Navajo Sterling is not just a good striker. He's a very physical guy. He's very strong and very lengthy. He's hard to get, that leverage under to get him taken down. And I think he's got pretty good balance and awareness along the fence and everything like that, to where I don't think Balato's going to have much success with the wrestling. Balato's, the thing that makes him a wild card is that he will just eat shots. You might knock him down, but if you can't put him out, he's going to be there all 3 rounds trying to beat you. He is a dog for sure. He's got that knockout win over Ior Potieria where the ref probably could have stopped the fight on him after Ior knocked him down and, had him badly hurt. The next fight is against Jimmy Crute where it's a draw. And then the Paul Craig one. First of all, the fight against Jimmy Crute knocked him down badly. That's another one where the ref probably could have stopped it if there was more time in the round. But Jimmy Crute's landing 106 significant strikes in that fight against you. That's not a good look when you're going up against a good kickboxer in Navajo Sterling. And then against Paul Craig, he takes that up kick, and then I don't know if it was a performance or if he was actually that badly buzzed by that little up kick. Because if he was, that's not a good sign coming in here against Sterling. Sterling's going to find the chin. He's definitely going to land some big shots. So I don't know if Balato can take it. I'm going to guess no. There's just so much damage racked up on Balato right now over the last couple of years since he's been in the UFC that I think sooner or later somebody's going to find it and, possibly put the lights out or get that TKO. And I think Navajo Sterling, a guy who is due for his breakout performance, those 2 wins he's got in the UFC, he's 2-0, but they're by decision. Home crowd, going to give him energy. I think he can come out here and get this win. So I'm going to take Sterling by KO plus 110. That's going to be my official play for this fight. I think the accuracy is going to go a long way against the guy in Balato who just does not have any head movement or striking defense whatsoever. And I don't think Balato is going to wrestle him up either. So, yeah, give me Sterling KO plus 110. Get some decent little plus money there. All right. maybe my favorite fight on the card, Tom Nolan versus Charlie Campbell. And this is another one from the standpoint of trying to pick a winner here. It's tough to do because both guys have their flaws, but both guys are also very, very skilled. You look at Charlie Campbell on the Contender Series, basically has Chris Duncan dead to rights and gets a little overzealous, rushes in, landing big bombs, and just eats a right hand down the pipe and gets knocked out. So, that's a concern that, a guy like Chris Duncan, who's a good striker, can knock you out that badly. If he can, I think Tom Nolan's got the accuracy and striking to do so as well. And then Charlie Campbell comes in, does what he's supposed to do against an Alex Reyes and gets the knockout round one. And then against Trevor Peek, he was getting hit a little bit against Peek. He got taken down a couple of times too. Trevor Peek has just never been a great fighter, in my opinion. If Trevor Peek's landing 47 significant strikes over the course of 15, I got to believe Tom Nolan can land 90 to 100, if I'm being honest. I don't think Tom Nolan has bad cardio either. I think he's going to be he's going to be able to fight deeper and deeper into this fight. Whereas Charlie Campbell, I think come round 3, if both these guys are trading and racking up damage, Charlie Campbell could start to slow down compared to Nolan here. You're also going to have Tom Nolan in front of his home crowd. He's going to get that energy from that too. It's going to be the case with a lot of these fighters, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, you all know that Tom Nolan has a questionable chin as well. He came in against Nicholas Mata and got, put out in round 1 pretty badly. Mata's a decent boxer. He's more of a brawler. I think Charlie Campbell's more slick than that. I think he can definitely touch the chin too. Who else was it? Victor Martinez dropped Tom Nolan, for God's sakes. I mean, that's a bad, that's not a great look, in my opinion. Tom Nolan's kind of cleaned it up since then. He also beat Alex Reyes, but it went to decision. And then he beat Vyacheslav Borshev, that went to decision as well. I don't think this one's going to the decision, though. Tom Nolan, again, if he's going to be the winner here, he's also due for a somewhat of a breakout performance. Knocking out Victor Martinez isn't really going to do it for me. He's coming off of a good fight against Borshev, an experienced guy with great striking. I think Tom Nolan is due for a knockout. But I think on the flip side, if he doesn't get it, he's going to be eating damage too from Charlie Campbell. I like this fight to end by knockout either way by either guy at -170. I think these guys are coming to fight. They're going to throw down. Charlie Campbell's not a guy who's going to let you fight from the outside and make it pretty. He's going to get in there and want a brawl. And that's either going to be, a gift or it's going to be a curse. I don't care which one it is. As long as the fight ends by KO, -170, that's going to be the play for this fight. Justin Taffa, Louis Sutherland. Never bet on a Taffa brother, they say. But I might just do it here. I might have to pull the trigger because Louis Sutherland on the feet, I think, is going to get hit. He's going to get hit a lot, and I don't think he's really got much to offer as far as boxing or striking or power or enough that's going to do anything to Justin Taffa. I mean, if he does, it's going to be in the clinch, landing these elbows, things like that. Where Louis Sutherland's going to win the fight if he can repeatedly take down Justin Taffa. Maybe he can, but that's a big boy to take down with some strong hips, and especially up against the cage. If he can use that to stuff some takedowns, I think this goes downhill for Louis fast if that's the case. I kind of think Sutherland, I'm not banking on him getting all the wrestling stuff, but I'm banking on Taffa to have more in the tank round 2, round 3. Not that even that he's going to have a bunch of energy, just that his power is going to translate more late in the fight than Sutherland's wrestling is going to. I think this is a big spot to come in on a live card for Louis Sutherland. That's hard to do at the UFC level. We've seen it time and time again. Closely lined fights or even favorites, these guys come in and they drop the ball in their debut because they're fighting a guy with a lot of experience or a lot of power. It checks all the boxes for me here. So one more time, I'm gonna bet on a Taffa brother. I'm taking Justin Taffa on the money line -120. I'm not gonna be surprised if Taffa goes out there and sparks him, if I'm being honest. The way he loses the fight, it's just getting held down for 15 minutes. Definitely a possibility. I just don't think Louis Sutherland is some Olympic level, maniac that's going to wrestle his ass off for 15 minutes. I think he might have success early, but he's going to get tired. You eat big shots from Justin Taffa while you're tired. It's bad news bears. So I'll take a shot on the Taffa bro one more time, -120. Neil Magny coming off a big win, and now he's fighting Jake Matthews. If this was a couple of years ago, I'd be more inclined to bet Magny at this big price tag. But the problem is that Magny's been clipped a lot lately. He in his last fight that he got a win, it was against a guy who's also 40 years old, who isn't as durable anymore that he once was. Jake Matthews might seem like he's 36, 37 because he's got so many UFC fights. The guy's only 31 years old. He's right in his athletic prime. His boxing is super sharp. He's got a little bit of power, and his wrestling is good. I don't think he's going to get taken down, beat up, or controlled by Magny the way that Zaleski dos Santos did in the last fight. I think if anybody's getting put on their back here, it's probably Neil Magny from Jake Matthews. And I think Jake Matthews' jiu-jitsu is pretty good too, to where he's not going to get submitted by Neil Magny. I really don't see him submitting Neil Magny either. Where I see Jake Matthews having success is at range with his boxing, using his speed, landing leg kicks, putting him up against the cage if he has to, where it's kind of a stalemate until Matthews can beat up the body, land knees, elbows, all that stuff. So I'm going with the younger guy here, way faster, more power. I'm going to take him by knockout or decision at minus 190. I'm going to lay a little bit of chalk here, just because I just don't see a clear path for Magny whatsoever. And the one thing where Magny, I think, is good is against guys like Jake Matthews, who are wrestlers and good boxers. He's good at defending submissions at times. I don't think, Jake Matthews is a jiu-jitsu ace where he's going to have those opportunities. I think Magny will work up to the feet at times. Maybe he gets planted back on his ass. Maybe he gets pieced up. But I think this knockout or decision is coming for Matthews, and that's what I'm going to rock with. All right. Jack Jenkins taking on Ramon Tverz. I'm like less and less confident in this fight the closer we get to fight night for whatever reason. I mean, Ramon Tverz, he's got some holes. He's got some flaws. He's not a wrestler or grappler, but he does have very, very sharp boxing. And if Jack Jenkins is fighting a little lackadaisical, kind of like we've seen at times, I think this could be a closer fight than the lines entailing. I actually looked at this fight to end by split decision at plus 600 or 700. Thought that might be a decent little look, but I'm not going to take the risk on that. On Jack Jenkins' side, what he's going to do well here, he just can't fall in love with it to where it's his whole game plan, is obviously the leg kicks. We've seen him in fights with it before. We've seen him break a ton of guys' legs. And, that's definitely one of his main weapons against the Ramon Tverz, who, if you watch him, phenomenal boxer, but those boxing stances for these guys in MMA usually gets their legs in trouble getting kicked out from under them. And Jack Jenkins, again, is very, very good with that. Where Ramon's going to have success is just throwing more volume here with the hands. Jack might land a leg kick and then eat 2 or 3 shots. I don't know what that's going to look like to the judges, how they're going to be scoring that fight. If anybody's going for takedowns here too, it's obviously going to be Jenkins. Maybe he finds success with that route as well. And that's a very good possibility. We'll have to see what Ramon Tverz's takedown defense is looking like against the guy who's pretty physically strong and is going to be shooting a lot. Because so far, Ramon, Davy Grant wasn't shooting takedowns. Siri City wasn't shooting many takedowns. Cortavius Romeus, not a great wrestler. And then, he fought Siri City again where he got knocked out round 1. So, I'm going to go with Jack Jenkins to win this by decision plus 140. I think if it's a close fight, he'll have the crowd swaying the judges a little bit. Every time Jack Jenkins lands a leg kick or a punch, the crowd's going to go crazy, and I think that means a lot here. And, Jack is due for a win. The guy had a loss, and then he got injured. And, he's kind of been away from fighting for, a little, I guess it's been less than a year. That's surprising to me. It feels like a lot longer. Since February, where he lost to Gabriel Santos by sub. So, yeah, I'm gonna go Jack Jenkins by decision, get back in the win column. It's a fight to where if he just can mix in all the aspects of MMA, I think he's gonna have a good shot to get this done. Okay. Jimmy the Brute Crute taking on Ivan Urslon, and this is one that I've also gone back and forth with because I'm not completely writing off Ivan Urslon yet. I think he's been dealt, a couple of tough fights. First, he goes in against Ion Cutelaba, and Ion Cutelaba has been known to be a wild man, has known to, eat punches with his head and sometimes get knocked out. But if you go back and watch the fight against Urslon, Ion fought calmly, composed, and was very, very technical for the first time basically in his career. And that's what got him the win. It was a split decision. I thought it was a clear, unanimous decision for him, even though I was on Urslon there. But, he mixed in a couple of takedowns, just did everything he needed to do. And Ivan Urslon has still yet to show that he's a big volume guy or a big power guy. He doesn't have any knockdowns, knockouts, anything. He's 0-2 in the UFC. So if you don't have that, especially the volume edge against Crute will get his shots off. The guy just landed 106 strikes against Rodolfo Balato 2 fights ago. So he's showing that he's getting a little bit better. He retired for a while. He came back. I think he wouldn't have came back unless he was serious and putting in, work for this. And I think that's what he's doing. And on the flip side, Ivan Urslon getting taken down 3 times by Cutelaba. I think Jimmy Crute could get him to the ground too. And I think there's going to be a massive skill difference on the mat. Ivan Urslon, what he has going for him, he's obviously a very physical and strong guy. Maybe he works back to his feet, but it's going to drain him a little bit. He eats a lot of shots too. His striking defense isn't that great in my opinion. So yeah, honestly, I don't really know if Urslon's going to hit Crute enough early to knock him out, because I honestly think that Crute's going to go out here and try to wrestle a little bit, especially coming off of a first-round sub win. And for Urslon, I think he's durable enough to last until over 1.5 rounds. I don't think he's going to be getting submitted very easily. I do think he can eat some shots before he gets knocked out. I think it's going to come later in the fight if Ivan Urslon does get finished. I'm going to go with a fight to go over 1.5 rounds at -135. And it's pretty simple to me, like I just explained. I think both guys are going to implement games to where it's going to take them a while to get going. Durability for Urslon should hold. Jimmy Crute should stay out of harm's way because he's going to be trying to wrestle. That's about all I got on this one. Other than that, I'm not real confident on either side on their money line, so that's exactly why I'm not playing the dog there or taking Crute by knockout or sub or anything. All right, main event time. Carlos Ulberg taking on Dominic Reyes. Oh, man. Another one I've kind of gone back and forth with, but at the end of the day, I think this is more Carlos Ulberg's time. They're putting him in the main event at UFC Perth, live card, off of a break week. People are pumped up to watch. I mean, that's all for a reason. I think they believe more in Carlos Ulberg right now than they do Dom Reyes. Dom Reyes has had his chances, fought John Jones, almost became the champion. Maybe he deserved to become the champion. That's been a while now. Even though he's on this little resurgence and getting knockout wins, you got to look at how some of them are coming and who they're against. I mean, Dustin Jacoby, that's a phenomenal win because, first of all, he was like a +200, +230 underdog, and he gets the win over him by knockout. But Dustin Jacoby's a little bit older now. He's getting towards the end of his career. Knocks out Anthony Smith, round 2. Anthony Smith retired the fight after that. Knocks out Nikita Krylov. Krylov just rushed in, left his chin open, and Krylov is now, 33, 34 years old, somewhere in that ballpark. So he's not really beating these young up-and-coming guys. He's beating guys who are on their last leg or at the end of their career. I think it's going to make a difference here because Ulberg is very, very patient, but he fights around the outside very well. He doesn't really put himself in harm's way that often. You have to go after him if you want to land big shots, but in the process, he's very good at countering. He's very good at meeting you when you're crashing in. We've seen that before. We saw Alonzo Minifield pay the price for it. And, Ulberg using his kicks, rips the body a lot, and I think his takedown and his grappling defense is good enough to where he's going to keep this on the feet the whole time. We've seen Dom Reyes struggle with his chin, but, all that time away, putting in the work, Ulberg, he's got some knockouts, but he's not like there's times when he just waits a little bit and he waits till his opponent gets tired and then he just pours it on late. There's fights that make you scratch your head with him as well. Like when he fought, what's his name? Was it Daun Jung? Let me look real quick. Yeah, Daun Jung, where, he landed some good shots, nothing real powerful, but in the end, he got on top and he found the submission. But it's like he waited till round 3 to really turn it on and go out there and look for the finish. The KO came to him in round 1 because Alonzo Minifield was just out of his mind, blitzing in like a madman. But then he's decision with Volkan Oezdemir, decision with Jan Blachowicz. He had a decision with Fabio Charant back in the day, early on in his UFC career. I think Dom Reyes is enough of a veteran to where he's not going to be making bad decisions that some of these guys have either. I think this fight goes longer than people think. The under was chalked at 2.5 rounds. This is a 5-round fight. I honestly think both guys take their time a little bit too. I'm going to take the over at plus money. I'm going to go over 2.5 rounds at plus 120. Rely on these guys to really feel each other out, take their times, and just be the veterans that they are. Don't make many mistakes. See what happens later on in the fight. I think that's kind of how this plays out. So for the main event, that's what I'm going with. Over 1.5 rounds at plus 120. And that's the show, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys. We are back off of a break week. We need to get back on the winning path, winning column. Again, the giveaway this week for not having a good week last week is going to be 100. I'm going to send 100 to one of you guys. All you got to do is comment on this video. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit the like button. It's my way to show appreciation to you. I know some of you guys tail these plays religiously. So when I have a bad week, dude, I sit there and I think about it because I don't care that I'm losing money at the end of the day. If I make a bet and I lose, I'm still going to wake up and sit there with my kids and you know, my life goes on. But, you know, people that take my advice and take my word for things and they don't want to watch their own tape, they don't have time to, so they watch this show. That's what gets at me a little bit because I want to see you guys win, you know, more than I want to see myself wins most of the time. So appreciate you guys watching the show every single week. $100. Somebody in the comments, make sure you do it. Shout out BetUS, the sponsor of the show. They've been a sponsor for a long, long time now. They're available in 49 of the 50 states. The link is going to be in the description, so go hop on that. Get yourself a deposit bonus and win some money this week. And if you do want to get my premium plays, it's different from the bets on the show. I mean, some of the plays are going to be the same, but my premium bets for home of picks are going to be my 5, 6, 7 absolute favorites, maybe some long shot props thrown in there too. We're up over 24 units on the year. We were up over 35, and then we took a few losses there to bring us back down to earth. But I'm more of a strategic bettor. I'm not trying to win 100 units a weekend, but I'm also not losing 100 units a weekend. You know, if we lose, a bad weekend for us is -3, -4, -5 units. A good weekend, +6, +7, +8. You know, we're betting some plus money there, you know, trying to give ourselves an edge, finding the best bets possible and trying to run with it. So if you want to get all of those, all of Hey Jive Picks bets, join the Home of Fight Premium. Go to winnable.com/HOF Picks. New users, use code Perth and you'll get a 7-day free trial. So you get all the plays for Perth, all the plays for Dana White's Contender Series. Go jump on it. Get that free trial. If you don't like it, go ahead and cancel. You won't be charged whatsoever. It's just an opportunity for you to see if you guys like our community, and I think you will. So once again, thank you guys very much. We will see you next week for another big card, UFC 321 or 2. Off the top of my head, somebody's going to have to let me know in the comments. I apologize, but we will be back for that big card. Thank you guys once again. Let's cash these bets this weekend at UFC Perth.